Ryan Clark, RG3. Man, Caitlin Clark. This is something that should have never happened. And I'm going to tell you why. That no one has ever discussed this. And Coach Greg, you may agree with this. If the freaking officials make calls the way they supposed to, none of this bullshit would happen. There was a call that should have been made that wasn't made, and it continued on. Now, I personally believe that this shit is fixed and is made up even before this even happened, and officials are being said now not to make certain calls to create narratives. Because this, to me, is a bunch of bullshit, and it's a bunch of narratives that shouldn't be created by black and white. No, this is about the damn officials not making their calls. And I've been saying this on all levels. Yes, do officials miss calls? Yes, they do. But this here was primarily in front of everybody's face. I made the call soon as I saw it. I said, oh, shit. I said, man, make that call. I thought they was going to make the call. They'd let it continue on, and it just got out of hand. Now it's going from step B to step C. RG3 has a white wife. And now then you have Ryan Clark put on his wife in the back, and she's back there drinking some Kool-Aid. This is some bullshit. I'm like, yo, call it what it is. Officials need to be accountable. You have this young lady sitting up here trying to get in between. If she wouldn't have to get in between, if she'd make the right call. Make your calls and do your job. It's just that simple. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. These two young ladies, are they the best in the league? In my opinion, they're good players, but there are other players that are just as good, maybe even better. And the narrative is always centered around these two because they're trying to increase the level of women's basketball. It's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to get better. It has grown over the past 25, 26 years. Let it be. You keep rocking and rolling this way, we got to stop. Because, we got certain people in office that like this madness. I'm not about it. Let's keep it the way it is. Let's keep it basketball. And let's stop all this nonsense about the narrative of who hates who and all this other nonsense. They don't hate each other. They're competitive. But yet, let's make the right calls. And that's my hot take for the week.
I'll chime in first. I think this is a little bit more deeper than the call itself. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have had history with each other since they both played in college, even matching up in the Final Four when Angel Reese was with LSU and Caitlin Clark was with Iowa. This is the problem I have with it. And yes, race is forever going to be the conversation with these two. It never can be just a better basketball player. Caitlin Clark, they're both in year two. Caitlin Clark has had a tremendous offseason. She's shown why she's going to be one of the all-time greats for the Indiana Fever. Regardless of the numbers and the accolades, winning matters. And until, Caitlin Clark brings a championship to the Fever, most of the stuff will just go out the window. But she is in line to have an all-time great WNBA career. That I will say without a shot of a doubt. However, what bothers me is when I see two black men who have a platform, who have a voice, and you bring wives involved, which becomes personal because regardless of what sports take you may say or what you may do, you should never want to bring families involved as well as wives. I know Ryan knows RG3's family personally well because, of course, they were teammates in Washington. But this is what Ryan Clark had to say on his Twitter page. Quote, "The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what black women have to endure in this country, about what young black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom." Ryan Clark said it in a clip from his podcast. If you're RG3, when's the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what black women deal with on a daily, and what they're seeing, what they think of a young woman when they talk about Angel Reese. Now, RG3 posted in response to that, a video in response to Ryan Clark saying that Ryan Clark crossed the line by bringing his family into it and said that he launched a personal attack on him and his family over a sports opinion. Ryan Clark personally attacking me and my family personally over sports opinion is cowardly, spineless, and a weak move. Ryan Clark personally attacking me and my family personally over a sports opinion is a bad look for ESPN and a bad look for him as a black man. RG3 saying he could realize hate when he sees it when referring to Angel Reese's feelings towards Caitlin Clark, which was irresponsible, but not at all surprising. Clark's the biggest star in women's basketball today, and deservedly so. No need to beat up Angel Reese to add shine to it. Ryan Clark publicly stood by his remarks in a series of tweets on Sunday night and said that Griffin was one of the worst teammates he ever had, both on the field and on TV. You know what it is with me. I saved your entire season on Monday Night Football, and quote, Clark wrote, I urge the people to let you be you, no matter how corny, how bad a teammate you were, I had your back. And what did you do in return? Invite someone on your show you know I don't fool with to ask questions about me. And then a few weeks later, tell me you're going to change. You're going to challenge one of my takes. You're a phony, one of the worst teammates I've had. You got to do what you got to do. I didn't attack your wife. I spoke on what you do on social media and TV. Like I said, I met your wife. She seemed like a lovely lady that was worth more than the color of her skin. You be good, fellas.
That's my issue here. You're making all those analogies from a call. That's personal. That's personal. Correct. That's a personal beef they had years ago, and you bringing it. Yeah, and you're bringing it up over a call that could have been prevented if someone made the call.
Well, they didn't make the call. They called a flagrant foul. Both players were in my opinion, it's a basketball play.
Right, but hold on.
I'm not going to allow you to score a layup. I'm going to foul you.
But the first push was never called.
Correct.
And that's the problem. Right there. Control the game. But these two bozos sitting there got personal beef, and they decide to use basketball, it's not football, basketball, to bring out their bullshit that they have. They could have did that shit on another network on OnlyFans or something. Can't take it there. Nobody want to hear that bullshit. You know what I mean? Have a kumbaya at a picnic with you and your wives, whether they black, white, green, or purple, and hash that shit out there. But yet, you got women talking, you got men talking. Now you got the black women all up in arms. It's just ridiculous. It's out of control. It's insane. Yeah, some valid points that they had there, but for me, you're ruining my thunder. This is our only safe space that we got as men, and women, to talk about sports. Now you bring in wives in there. She's sitting back there with some Kool-Aid, just sit back there. Yeah, I mean sassy shit. I mean, I don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm. Fellas, what's you guys take on it? Because I think, regardless of the basketball side, when we talk about race and when we talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, these are the next generation of stars in the WNBA. But to bring wives in it, to challenge RG3's blackness in terms of conversations that he's having or not having with his wife being white. What's your guys' take on that?
Shouldn't have went that far.
Go ahead.
That's really it. Just shouldn't have went that far. That's really all. Yeah.
Coach Tynes, what's your take on it? Because you've had a successful marriage. Shout out to Mrs. Tynes. But when you see things like this, what's your reaction to it?
Yeah, I'm gonna work backwards. So,
okay.
First of all, I think they both need to probably come see my wife. She's a therapist, so they need to know. I'll say that first and foremost. Dr. Aldine Beaumont, she's a therapist, so she's a psychologist. They need to make an appointment. But I just think that wives and kids, that's like out of bounds. That's out of bounds. I think that was totally wrong. They got some other issues going on. Long issues from when they played together. Mm-hmm. And getting to Caitlin Clark and Reese, I just think that I think because they're in a business, women's basketball, it's hard to officiate that because as basketball people, we want them to call a game correctly, call the fouls. But because it's a business, you need to have those two on the floor. So you can't call every time they foul. So you gotta let them get away with things. And then once they get away with one thing, they're gonna try to get away with more. And they're gonna get away with more. And it's a tough situation to be an official in any pro sport, especially in basketball, because you only get 5 fouls, 6 fouls, and certain people got to play on the floor. When I was, and this goes back probably 60 years, one of the guys who taught me how to play ended up being a referee in the NBA. And he called the foul against the great Bill Russell. So this is how long this was. And he called the foul against Bill Russell, but someone else on the team raised their hand, because that's what they would do. There's somebody else who was closer to play would raise their hand to take the foul. And Bill Russell, and he said, no, it was on whatever Bill Russell's number 6. It was on number 6. And long story short was he got blackballed from the league, from the NBA. After being in the NBA like maybe 4 or 5 years, they blackballed him because he wouldn't change the call, because it would have been Bill Russell's 5th foul. It was sent up to the bench, because he, they didn't want him to get his 6.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the officials have a tough job, and players take advantage of that. When have you seen Michael Jordan foul out?
Never.
Yeah, I mean, certain guys you can't foul out because they make money.
Right. And see, so you that's what it's all about.
Right.
But those things, you got consequences behind it.
Right.
And look where we are. Because
they should allow the officials to call it the way they see it.
Exactly.
And if you start getting foul trouble, he gets in foul trouble.
Correct.
Play better defense. Stop reaching.
Correct.
Perfect.
Fans pay too much money to have that star on the bench.
Correct. So it's a trickle down effect. The official was afraid to get blackballed. Now you got this going on. Now you got that going on, and now the narratives are going to continue. So
exactly,
it is what it is.